opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHPS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors. You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
FM 88.1 WHPR, Highland Park.
WVIE 107.3 FM Charlotte, Amalia, Virgin Islands.
Kelly, native child Brown Mays, is an award-winning slam poet, spoken word artist, healer, licensed therapist, and survivor who shares her story about intimate partner violence, mental health, and the need in the community. She always encourages survivors of intimate partner violence to reach out for help and captivates audiences away with her storytelling. Kelly has appeared in the media and contributed dozens of live performances across the United States. She has also received the 2020 Distinguished Volunteer Award from the Association of Fundraising Professionals Michigan, Greater Detroit Chapter, for her volunteerism in intimate partner violence at Haven. She currently works as a suicide prevention training and outreach specialist for the Pathways to Suicide Prevention program at High Gara Programs. I would like to introduce to you Kelly, native child Brown Mays.
Myth. People who are suicidal always want to die. Fact. People who are suicidal don't want to end their lives, they want to end their pain. Message from the brown girl trapped inside a snow globe contemplating suicide. I've sewn my favorite things about sanity into a shroud. Tried them on more than I can remember. Sleepwalk in a closet full of clothes that look better on someone else's pain. Devour manic highs and lows like my brother and sister devour my mother's peach pie. My mother tells people that I'm the crazy child, the moody child, the pray for a little more child. I feel like a snow globe haphazardly shaken. Snowflakes falling where they shouldn't. At times I pretend the snow is the only thing falling around me. I'm told I pretend my best when my world is upside down. See, I'm that mannequin in the window most people walk past without even noticing. My depression is my ill-fitting disappointment, which frowns into my mother's face, the one she makes when she thinks I'm off my medication. I'm trapped in this glass sarcophagus I've built around me. I keep track of how many breaths I need to survive each day. 21,236, 21,237, 21,238. Most days, all I can do is keep counting. I decorate my body with effigies made of snow melts when they cry. They are my constant friends in this minefield of madness and moon swings. My mother doesn't even realize I saw her the other day counting how many eggshells she had left in her pockets, wondering if this would be the day I take too many pills or worse. I sketched semicolons on my wrists to remind myself that my story is not over, to remind myself to tie a tiny knot onto this thread that I'm hanging, to remind myself that pain is temporary, quitting is forever. The most courageous thing I've ever done. was survive another day when all I wanted was the opposite.
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening, Detroit? You are tuned in to another episode of Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, Straight Talk with Valerie. And tonight we're going to talk about suicide, mental health, and the Black community. I'm calling it Emotionally Naked. And you just heard a performance from Kelly, Native Child Brown, Mays. Say what's happening to Detroit, Kelly.
What's up, Detroit? What's up to my hometown?
And you know, of course, I get excited when I get my producer to come from behind the scenes and come in front of the camera. We have no other than Trisha Duckworth. Say what's happening, Trisha.
What's up, Detroit? Happy to be here with you. What's happening? What's happening?
So again, this is Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, Survivor Speaks edition. And we're going to talk about being emotionally naked, suicide, mental health, and the Black community. Mm-hmm. So, Kelly, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for taking the time out to share with us on this evening. I want to start by asking you to explain briefly about your bout with suicide, because that piece, Brown Girl Trapped in the Snow Globe, Contemplating Suicide, was that about you?
It was about me. It was a personal piece and about my struggle with mental wellness. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was 14. And after just having some amazing help, I had a great mother who was very supportive, father that was supportive. I had an amazing therapist. I had 2 suicide attempts as a teenager. And it took a while, you know, I want to say well off into when I was in my early 20s for me to finally kind of get a grasp on what it meant to live with mental illness. And even now, in the field that I'm in now, there are things that I need to do in order to stay healthy and stay well. I always make sure I take time to self-care. Also make sure I take my medications, but back then in that space that I was in when I was 14, my first attempt was when I was 14 years old. And I was in just a really dark place and in so much pain. And that was like the only way that I saw out. And I know for a lot of people who are thinking about suicide or people who have survived attempts, their focus is on the pain and trying to find a solution to that pain. And for them, suicide is that solution. And it's hard to see past that pain. But I had so many people that were so instrumental in helping me see past my pain. And one of the things that was really helpful for me was writing and creating poetry and performing the poetry. That piece was personal because, after my first attempt, my mom was she walked on eggshells like all the time. And she was so nervous because she didn't know how to help me. Mm-hmm. Black mothers are taught, you take your children to the church and to the doctor. And that's how you take care of them. The church and doctor. Sometimes the doctor don't know what they're talking about. You got to take them to the church. Mm-hmm. And my mom was so nervous and so anxious, and she didn't know how to help me, but she wanted to help me. And she just created this environment where we were both vulnerable and able to talk to each other and say, I don't know how to deal with these things that I'm feeling. And she didn't know exactly how to help me, but she told me that she was present and that she wanted to help me. And that really helped me start, the journey on getting the help that I needed.
Wonderful. You talked about that creative piece, and, you have something in common with Trisha, the suicide and the self-expression through the arts. Trisha, would you care to just share with her a little bit about your background so we can understand as we move forward?
Sure. So first of all, salute to you, my sister, just for that beautiful piece, and just your presence. I feel your healing process, and I feel you, and you're just glowing, and you can see your glow. So I just want to just salute you, for your strength. And, we do have something in common in the fact that, I battled suicidal ideation from the age of 4 years old. I didn't know at 4 years old that it was suicide. I just knew I wanted to die. I knew I didn't fit. I knew that something was going on. And I lived with that for many years. My first attempt, or wanting to try to attempt, was at the age of 28. And I guess just, for so long, you just feel so locked in, right? And you feel like you have no voice. I had a voice, I had a big mouth, but I wasn't necessarily saying the right things to free myself from that pain. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
and so from there, having that experience, and really, really moving beyond that, and just understanding that, man, people need to be able to use their voices. And I'm so grateful, just meeting Valerie. Started working with SOAR, and then from working with SOAR and just sewing into the community and Birth Survivors Speak, which is a nonprofit that focuses on highlighting taboo topics and social injustices through the arts, right? Because we believe that when people put a voice to their pain, there's a relief and healing takes place. And so, that's why I salute you, and I'm just honored to be here with both you ladies tonight.
Well, thank you both so much for sharing. I have never battled with suicide, but I definitely had a battle with anxiety and agoraphobia. So I have my share of mental illness that I have to deal with as well. But let's start out with suicide. Why is suicide a growing problem in the Black community? Well, we can put an umbrella over that and say, well, the lack of treatment. And as Kelly said, it's two things, doctor and the church, but don't add therapists.
Don't add therapists.
Right. Don't add therapists, because that is really taboo. So you have doctor, where the doctor generally should hand off, because they can over medicate, not necessarily treat, and all of these other things. You go to the church is not equipped. We don't even have real nurses. Some real nurses go to the church, but the ones with the white hat and shoes and dress, they not real nurses. They gonna give your ass some water and a tissue. So we don't have the right people. I should have warned you ahead of time. We don't have the right people.
They have peppermints in their pockets too.
Oh yeah, that's true. You can get a couple of peppermints too. You can get that. That's all. So you will leave prayed over with a greasy cross on your forehead if they're anointing, and you still don't have an understanding of the origin of that pain. Yeah. And what it is that you're dealing with. That will leave many people to go to self-medicating, smoking weed, maybe drinking, taking more of the medication they have been prescribed, because they don't understand that cognitive behavioral therapy could work with that in conjunction or in collaboration, that the pill is not the only answer, neither is meditation. It's a combination of both. So, why do you think suicide is a growing problem in the Black community, Kelly?
Well, I know from my experience, and I'm both Native American and I'm African American, and with both sides of my family, there are high incidents of suicide. I've had relatives who have died by suicide. And first of all, there's stigma attached to when our loved ones die by suicide. We don't want to talk about it. Secondly, we don't want to talk about mental illness. And I as a therapist, I've been a therapist now for about 10 years. As a therapist, I'm very vocal and very transparent about my mental wellness and about my history. And the reason why is because mental illness is not any different from a doctor who treats a patient who's diabetic and that doctor is diabetic. You know, it's an illness that can be treated. It's treatable, and you can have a good, healthy, stable, beautiful life managing your illness, you know, like anyone else. And I don't think that people really understand that or realize that or put those pieces together. I think that also that we don't understand what mental illness looks like in the African American community. Like we'll say things like, "Oh, that girl's so crazy," you know, or you know, we'll minimize a lot of symptoms when they are mental illness symptoms. You know, trauma, anxiety. You mentioned that you're agoraphobic. You know, people might think, "Oh, well, she just doesn't like being around people," you know, or she's a homebody. You know, they don't really understand what mental illness is, and they don't understand that mental illness looks different in different people's bodies. You know, you could go and open up a definition of, say, schizophrenia and think that that's a one-size-fits-all definition for one person, and it's not. Mm-hmm. And also we have subcultures, you know, what my family, I grew up in a middle-class family in Detroit, you know, versus some of my family members that are African-American and Native, grew up on the reservation. You know, like, so, you know, there are subcultures and there are things that we don't understand about each other, that we need to have more conversations about mental illness and about suicide and about what it looks like and how to ask for help and how to talk about it just in plain language with each other.
I agree. Trisha, what's your take on it? Well, why do you feel suicide is a growing problem in the Black community?
I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but it's kind of tagging on what you said before, Kelly, when you said that you either go to the doctor or you go to church. And just in my experience, church can be part of the problem. I know people are going to say, "What do you mean?
Here I go to Facebook.
God is the answer for everything." Oh, I know, right? But believe it or not, you can get so caught up in the ritual of church and not really understanding the healing that needs to be taking place. Like, you can't pray everything away. Some things you need medicine for. Some things you need counseling. And I'm not talking about by your pastor. If your pastor is not a therapist, he should not be counseling you. And that is just bottom line. Like, you know, I know some pastors to counsel people, and I'm cringing thinking about, well, you just ain't got no faith. That's why you don't want to live. Like, what do you mean? Somebody just came to you, told you that they're struggling, and then you demean and you disrespect them. So I just think a lot of times people knowing that and knowing what church people think about suicide, it causes them to hold it in. Mm-hmm. So me, I used to, for a long time, I would be like, man, I used to pray and ask God to just kill me. Like, God, if you just take me, then it ain't gonna be suicide. How twisted of a thought process is that? But that is someone who has been emotionally and religiously abused and doesn't really understand relationship with God, because that's what it's about. It's not about all that other ritual stuff, because that will land you in a deeper space. When I tried to complete suicide, I was at church every Sunday. I was on the praise team. I was in the choir, all of that. But that did not stop me from putting that pistol grip Mossberg pump in my mouth, getting ready to blow my brains out. We got to learn how to deal with things holistically, which means all of you, not just the spiritual part of you. We are spirit, body, soul, our minds and our hearts. There's so many things that have to fall in line, and we have to work on all of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think too, like, as far as religion is concerned, that we can absolutely, I've worked with consumers who have incorporated religion into their treatment plans and into their treatment, you know, like it could be a great support. But, you know, and what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another person, but there can be some things that can be absolutely negative and can be harmful to people who are dealing with suicide or in a suicidal crisis as related to church. And please don't come for me.
Well,
don't come for me.
You're in the come for me club.
As a clinician, and from what I've experienced as a clinician, and from my own personal experience, you know, my grandmother was a pastor, you know, and she would tell my mom, pray, you need to pray more. You need to pray on her. You need to pray over her. You know, there's something wrong with the girl. You just need to pray. You take let me take her more to church. She need to be in the choir. She need to be on the usher board. You need to have her, you know, and that was my grandmother's solution, you know, to working with. And my mom was like, no, there's something else. There's something else, and I don't know what it is, and I need to find out what it is so I can help her. You know, as I say, thankfully, I had an amazing mom who just read the signs and knew it was beyond where she could help me, but she eventually found out where the resources, you know, to take me and get me help. So.
Yeah, because, you know, I will salute your mom for that, because I know when I first had my very first anxiety attack, and actually I never had another one. That one took me all the way to agoraphobia. I couldn't even stand for the clock to tick. And my mother was like, hey, you just bought a brand new convertible. You know, you're working as a scientist. You're doing great. And my daughter is an extrovert. Really, I'm an ambivert. But, you know, I'm not afraid to go out or do anything. And I'm just in my house. And I don't even want to hear the clock tick. My mother was like, something is wrong with my baby. She came and got me and took me back, put me in my childhood room, and was like, we're going to work through this. Something's wrong with my baby. She wasn't trying to hear nothing about what nobody else is saying, because most mothers know their child. They Absolutely. Know. And, you know, I salute your mom and mine. They may not have known exactly what to do, but they knew something had to be done.
Absolutely. And that's the first step. That's the first step, though. That's the very first step.
I'm so proud of both of them because of that. I'm sure that was scary. It was scary for me, you know, and then my mother trying to keep it together for me while she's dealing with this issue, right? And like you say, the walking on eggshells type thing. My mother's not that type of person, but I'm sure she definitely was fighting wars inside of her mind that I know nothing about during that time frame. So all I can remember was there was an expectation that was set, and not necessarily by anyone, by society. There's an expectation, and then there was my reality. And when you're in the midst of your crises, you're trying to meet that expectation.
Yeah, trying to get up there.
Yeah, and it's like running on a treadmill or like a hamster wheel, you know. And I had someone tell me, girl, you just bought that new convertible. You better drive that car. Don't you think I want to drive my damn car? I mean, do you really think I just bought this nice new convertible? The weather's nice outside, and I don't want to let my top down and drive my car. I want to drive my car, you know, and I wanted to do so many of the other things that I would normally do. I was incapable of doing it because I had no clear understanding of what my mental health diagnosis was. I had no clue what I was experiencing, and I had no idea what to do about it. I also was one that didn't want to take medication. Being a former investigational drug research scientist at Pfizer, just popping a pill in my mouth, it's like, no, you know, wait a minute, I'm know too much. Sometimes you can know too much of the other side, like, well, what about the clinical trials and what happened to these people? And I'm not taking that, you know, and I'm looking at all of these other things that could happen. And so now I have all of this stuff in my head and I never could shut down. And it was just one of the most horrific times of my life to be a type A personality, very strong and outgoing, have full control over everything in my life, but I couldn't control myself. So that was driving me crazy more than anything else. I couldn't stop the thoughts and things of that nature.
When we start to develop the coping skills, the unhealthy coping skills to deal with, you know, like I was a cutter when I was a teenager, and I overate. So I binge ate. I know when people are depressed, they get anxious. They avoid work. They avoid paying bills. They avoid, like, I avoid, like, if I'm depressed, I'll avoid everything. I'll avoid talking. I'll avoid eating. I'll avoid paying my bills. Things just get put aside and start to pile up and pile up and pile up. And then that makes me even more anxious. And those are the signs where, if you're not a clinical person, but you're a person who's close to that person, you're like, this doesn't seem right. This isn't how they're normally, and your mom knew, like, wait a minute, this is not how my baby usually is. She had enough, insight to say, I need to know what's going on. And if you can't find the words to tell me what's going on, let's sit with it, together, and we'll figure it out. And that support was, like, so, important and pivotal for you. And a lot of people don't have that support or listen to their own thoughts, their feelings, their moods, and the things that are going on around them. They don't have that that wherewithal to do that. Of course, as clinicians, we teach them the skills to do that, but just a layperson wouldn't know how to do that. And as a community, Black community, we need to support each other and listen to each other and pay attention.
Trisha, what was it like for you coming out of that mindset? Can you share with the audience what was your epiphany? What was that day that you finally decided you were going to do something different? What was that like?
Well, I think the day was the day that I tried to complete. And in that moment, really having a one-on-one experience with God in that moment, and understanding that I had a purpose, like, because all of the things that had happened and all of the, oh, you did, all the noise that I couldn't cancel out became so silent in that moment. And I began to hear God tell me, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. I have a plan for your life. Everything that you've gone through, I'm going to use it for my glory. Like, all of this stuff that you think was reiterated in that moment for me. And I started school. A friend of mine, a great friend of mine, who I can't even believe this, but he dared me to go up to the college. And I was like, I ain't trying to go to school. And he was like, no, just go check it out. You never know. Just tell me you're going to go. So I was like, all right, I'll go. Went, started school, started for singing. Then I was like, oh, I like psychology. Then social work. Oh, okay. That's where you want me at, God. And in those classes, I didn't process other people. I used my life, my own life. And my teachers used to be like, Trisha, you be going so deep. And I'm like, I didn't even realize that that's what was going on. But I was in school, but I was in healing mode.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that's just what it was. And it's just been, I don't want to say up. It's been kind of up and then to the left and up and then to the right. And you know what I'm saying? Good days, bad days. But because I have the perspective to know that I have a purpose, there's a reason that I'm here. Mm-hmm. See, the enemy can't trick me anymore to make me think that life is not something that I can live. I'm supposed to live because I have.
Absolutely.
I'm loved, because I'm wanted, because I'm just me. And me is enough. I learned that I'm enough, and that's it.
That is wonderful.
Beautiful.
You guys are listening to Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, a Survivor Speaks edition. And we're talking about emotionally naked, suicide, mental health, and stigma in the Black community. And I have with me Kelly, Native Child Brown, Mays, and Trisha Duckworth. I know one more thing as we prepare to go to break. Abandonment is a huge problem. Emotional abandonment. And because sometimes it's so ingrained in our lives that the father is out of the home, or that the mother is out of the home, or granddad was a Rolling Stone, or, whatever it was, we don't really look at that as something that's abnormal or something that affects our mental health. For me, it took me to get older and start experiencing relationships and love on my own accord to realize that I was dealing with things ineffectively because of the abandonment issues that I had. You know, my father, rest his soul, his birthday was yesterday, and may he rest in heaven, but that was my protector from my mother. Like, and when he was no longer in the home, it's like, who's going to protect me? You know, like, what's going on? I felt so abandoned. I felt so lost. I felt like I really couldn't be myself or express myself because I didn't have that type of communication openly with my mother at that time. And so it left me in this state of feeling emotionally alone. And that caused some depression and some other things that I eventually snapped out of. But at 9 years old, it was very hard. So I look at the abandonment and some of the other things that people have to deal with that is just brushed off as normal or whatever when it's not. You know, it might be common and it might happen in a lot of families and in a lot of households, but I would never label it as normal. It is not normal, and we won't address it. You know, we don't talk to children about those type of things. And how the divorce came about, I felt like it was my fault because my grandmother told me that my father wasn't my real father. And I didn't know any better. He had been around as long as I could damn remember, so I didn't know otherwise. I'm at 9 years old hearing this. So I asked my father when he came home from work, who was my father. We were spending the weekend in Jones Sub in Romulus. I'm sitting on the porch. And I asked him, who was my father? And he said, I am. And I said, no. And Grandma said, you're not, you know, and I'm bawling my eyes out or whatever and demanded to go home. Well, my mother is a hitter. So that turned into this big mess, this big fight, this big to-do. And later on, divorce happened. I'm thinking, oh, this is my fault because no one ever said to me that it wasn't. So that abandonment coupled with the emotion I was feeling and all of the other things just was the foundation, I believe, of suppressing emotion, because after that, I never wanted to tell anything else, and I didn't, up to and including when my molestation happened. I refused to say because I had such negative and post-traumatic stress from sharing before, and nobody said it was okay to do so. And I see this big fiasco break out because I said something. I just refused to say anything else until I got my voice back. But then I started cussing everybody out. So then I had to reel back, you know, but it was cool. It was liberating. Like I'm saying whatever I want to say, whenever I want to say it, how long I want to say it, however I want to say it. And it was liberating for me.
I think as Black women, or women of color, I think that we're conditioned and taught to suck it up, to be quiet, to be patient, or we're taught that we're supposed to be stoic and take whatever the world is supposed to give us, but not put it back out in the universe, which is unfortunate because, and we watch our mothers, create these people that are stoic and take all the hurt and all the everything of the universe. And so we think that we're supposed to be the exact same way. And then we pass that on to our children, to our daughters. And the thing is, like, we're beings and we feel and it's okay to be angry and to be upset. And we don't really teach that to our children, to our daughters, and to our sons in the Black community, that emotions are who we are, and it's okay to express them and feel them, and whether they're make you feel good or not make you feel good, because there's no such thing as good emotions or bad emotions. They're all just emotions.
They are. Well, it is time for a break. You have been listening to Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, Survivor Speaks Edition, and it's called Emotionally Naked. We're talking about suicide, mental health, and stigma in the Black community, and we will be back after this break.
place with many parts. Some are players, some are sharks. Broken minds, broken hearts. Admitting that is where it starts. Recognizing who they are and don't let it go too far. Get that demon out your car and don't look back or there'll be scars.
No matter how far down you fall, there's a great purpose to it all. It's all a part of God's plan to get you to a place where you can stand. Every time I think about the pain and all the life lessons that I gained, changed my thoughts and now I'm free, free to walk into my destiny. My spirit's now free and I'm giving thanks. Grateful I can finally breathe again. I feel like going on, 'cause I let it go. Gotta let it go. Gotta let it go. Gotta let it go. The pain regrets the guilt, the shame, it's all a part of the enemy's game to distract you from God's plan for you.
Yeah, see what we want ain't always best. Trusting God and worry less. Crossing fingers, holding breaths. A waste of time at best. Good character comes with tests. And when your life's a mess, just don't hold on to pain and stress. Just let it go and you'll be blessed.
There will always be rain. Trials of life will come. There will always be sun through God Almighty. The difference is how we respond. No matter what happens to you, gotta keep moving on. Gotta let it go. Gotta let it go. Gotta let it go. The pain, regret, the guilt, the shame, it's all part of the enemy's game to distract you from God's plan for you.
Trigger warning. This poem was meant to be funny. I tried to think funny. Be funny. Channel my inner comedian, write funny across a page. Funny. Like that time I broke my arm running from a squirrel. True story. Funny, I thought it was chasing me. Funny, it really wasn't funny. I still believe the squirrel apocalypse is a thing. Funny. Like that time a boy called me fat. When I told him I thought he was cute. I kept the joke going, kept his homeboys laughing, kept my waistline expanding inside the punchline, hoping they wouldn't notice it really wasn't funny. Like that time I lost my wallet. I found myself at the grocery store, carts full of baby formula. Funny, the nice lady paid. Funny, I really didn't lose my wallet. Funny, I didn't have enough money to fill my car and my child's belly. Funny how life is. Keep writing, you will get to funny. Keep laughing. Laughter is the only thing that will make this poem funny. Like that time I wrote my first haiku along the wall of my college dorm. Funny, it was actually a suicide note. Funny, no one noticed. They say the ones that laugh the most, laugh the least. Robin Williams, Anthony Bourdain, my cousin, me. They say laughter is the best medicine. If I keep writing, maybe I'll be cured. If I keep laughing, maybe I'll be cured after all. What do you say to God? Halfway through a poem, through a prayer, through a suicide note, through a punchline. Funny?
You are listening to Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream Survivor Speaks Edition. I have with me my warrior sister, Trisha Duckworth, and you just heard another performance from Kelly, native brown child, Mays. We've been talking about being emotionally naked, suicide, mental health, and stigma in the Black community. You know, as a Black woman, my story is one of resilience and perseverance. And I think that goes back historically through my family. Anything else, I would be considered spiritually or morally weak. Being who I am and living my life the way that I have, people look to me for that strength. As I look back over my battle with anxiety, it wasn't about weakness at all. It was about trying to be strong too long and not allowing myself time to heal, not allowing myself the self-care that I needed, trying to be there for everyone else when I wasn't even there for myself. And it's a problem. It's a problem that we fail to recognize that mental illness is just that, an illness. It's like cancer, high blood pressure, or any other illness that you have. But we're not ashamed to talk about those. People will be quick to tell you, oh, is that ham and them greens? Oh, that's going to run my pressure up. Just give me a little bit, or whatever. We'll talk about all of those things, even if it's in a comical kind of way. It's still not a taboo discussion. I can't eat bacon no more. Oh, did you make that with real sugar to run my sugar up? And we don't have a problem talking about those things, but no one really openly or even sometimes jokingly talk about their mental illness. Was there any stigma around you, Kelly, when you were going through your bout with mental illness? Were you afraid of the stigma?
Absolutely. There was, absolutely. So I've been with my now husband for almost 11 years, but we've been married 5 years. And when I first met him, and I'm very open with partners, not that I've had that many, but I'm very open with partners, about my past, about my illness. And when my husband first met me, he was like, you seem, he'd say, you seem perfectly normal. I don't believe you. And with the year that we got married, we got pregnant. We ended up losing the baby, but I ended up coming off medication for the time that I was pregnant. And so he saw mania, he saw me in my having manic episodes. He saw me depressed. He saw me irritable, and it was just like an eye opener, because he was so overwhelmed, and he was like, I don't know how to help you because I didn't believe you when you first told me. I don't know how to support you in these moments, and it had to be a learning lesson for him, especially like after us losing our child that year. I got even more depressed, and I was depressed probably a couple of years, and he didn't really understand like how mental illness looked and felt and spilled over into families and spilled over into marriages, so he really struggled those first years that we were married, because I wasn't present. And when I would get on social media and say, I'm struggling today, he'd get backlash from like people who really didn't know him that well, and they'd be like, your wife's crazy, or your wife's this, or your wife's that. And he'd say, please stop putting that stuff on social media. But he didn't understand, like, me putting that on there meant me surviving another day, meant I was really proud that I made it through this day, without thinking that I wanted to end the day, that I didn't want to wake up the next day. Like, it was an accomplishment to me. So I had, yes, stigma, absolutely, but it was because of the stigma, which made me want to tell more people that's like, this is what I'm living with, and you can too. And be more transparent. It was like, because, you know, the more you say that I can't say who I am, the more I'm going to tell you who I am.
Wonderful. And yes, there are a lot of wonderful programs available to help people feel more comfortable about talking about suicide and the causes of suicide. And one of them you have at your agency. Can you briefly tell us about that program? Dear Survivor, I believe it's called.
Yes. So Dear Survivor is it's hashtag Dear Survivor, and it's our social media campaign that it's my baby. I created with our pathways for solution, or, you know, with my whole, you know, crew, you know, my whole, yeah. But we created this to help support and honor those who have lost their lives to suicide, to help support their families and friends who are struggling with the loss, and to honor their lives. And what we're doing is that we're asking those who have lost loved ones to suicide to submit audio tapes talking about their loved ones, and we're turning that into a social media campaign. We're posting it on our social media, and we're showing people that we support you, we're here for you, and that you can survive a loss, and that as far as anyone who's in a suicide crisis, that we're here to support you, and as an agency that we're here for you in all aspects of your journey.
Great. I'm going to turn it over to Trisha now, so Trisha can talk about some things that she's been doing for suicide and some things that we have upcoming. Or I wouldn't even say upcoming, that we're going to restart in the new year. So Trisha, could you go ahead with that, please?
Sure, yes. So I guess this would be SOAR's Corner now, where SOAR is actually a prevention agency that offers different kind of trainings. One being a suicide prevention workshop, which is called QPR, Question, Persuade, and Refer. This is where we come together. We give community members tools that they can take back into their homes, into their communities, and really help make a difference. You know, in that training, we talk about how suicide is everybody's business. We think that it's just up to the psychiatrist or the therapist, but we got to understand this and think about it in a wraparound services frame of mind, where it takes the community, it takes a village, right? And so we come together, get all these tools. It's a lunch and learn. It's every Wednesday from 12 to 1 p.m. So you can log on to SOAR's website. I believe it is SOOAR-nonprofit.org. Is that right,
That's
Valerie?
correct, yes.
Okay. And it will also forward you to the Eventbrite, where you can sign up. Again, we do these every Wednesday. And because we understand also that it's a very hard time right now, SOAR, Survivor Speak is actually going to be in partnership with SOAR, who is already existing and doing this work. And we're going to do support group and wellness check-ins with everyone. We know people are having a hard time right now. So we want to provide a space where we can all come together and kind of just talk about what we're going through and talk about how we can build and cope and go through this together. That will be on Wednesday nights. So the Lunch and Learn is on Wednesdays at noon, and the support group will be on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. All of this will be via Zoom, so you definitely have to sign up on Eventbrite to get the link. But we just want everyone to come out and join this group and get these tools, because we believe that, number one, we're stronger together, and then when we have the necessary tools, we can help each other.
Thank you both. So the reason why I like the programs and the things that we are doing is not just to put the tools in the hands of the people who can really use them, because we're changing that paradigm. There's a shift. Instead of talking about mental illness, we're talking about mental wellness.
Absolutely.
And that makes a difference. We're having now conversations about it, about topics that used to be taboo. We can talk about emotional well-being and eating healthy and all of the other things that go along with it, just being healthy overall. And hopefully it can become as normal of a conversation as you can't eat that piece of bacon because it'll run your pressure up. You know, if we can just talk through it and talk with the individual instead of down to the individual or to the individual in a derogatory fashion, it would be more beneficial. We need to learn how to talk to people, and we don't. And so I'm hoping that you guys look further into the Dear Survivor program or the QPR Suicide Prevention Gatekeeper training. And if it's not either one of those, find some way to help. And everyone's not a helper. So sometimes, you know, you can say things that are more harmful than helpful, and you don't even realize it. And that's why these trainings and these conversations are important, so you know what to say. Like when they were like, snap out of it, just drive your car. Don't you think I want to drive my car? Don't you think if I could just snap out of it, I would snap out of it? You know, the key word is snap, because you want to snap on people. You know, now you're infuriated because you're already on edge. You're feeling out of sorts. You don't fully understand what's going on with yourself. And now you feel almost like humiliated, whether they mean it or not. So it's essential that we learn how to use these tools, when to use them, why we're using them, and if we are even capable of using them. Because if you're not capable, find someone else who is. And that's very important. So as we prepare to close, Kelly, would you like to share any parting words?
Just like if you want more information about our program or about Hagira, you can go to hagirahealth.org, HEGIRA health.org. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. You know, you can, if you're interested in art, more of my artistry, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook at Native Child Brown. I'm always, I'm working on a chapbook right now that I actually I'm doing the last little editings, and I'm shopping publishers. So I'm working on that now. But if anyone, if you're feeling suicidal or feeling like you're in crisis, call 911, reach out to a friend. Talk to someone. You are not alone.
Yes. Any parting words for you, Trisha?
Native Child Brown just took the words out of my mouth. You are not alone. I think a lot of people think that their situations are very isolated in that they're the only ones that are going through it. And really there's somebody out there that's suffering. Might not be the exact same, but you're not alone. You are loved. You are loved. You are wanted. You have a purpose. If you don't remember anything else tonight, remember that you have a purpose. And whether you believe in the devil, dark forces, or whatever you believe in that would try to come and take that from you, nothing can take that from you. You were born for a reason. So live your life, live in peace, live in hope, live knowing that you are wanted and loved.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank both of you sisters for being on the show, Power to the People. And I want to say it's only by working together collaboratively with fully engaged partners such as Kelly and Trisha that we can overcome these challenges and help those who are suffering around us and in our community. You have been listening to Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, Survivor Speaks edition, where I don't try to spill the tea or make you feel dazed like you drank a shot of cheap liquor. I just want you to see things from a different perspective, mine. We will see you next week. Well, we will kick off the new series called Love and Logic. You guys have a wonderful week. So long. QPR, question, persuade, and refer, is just like CPR. It is an emergency response to someone in crisis and can save lives by providing innovative and proven suicide prevention training. The training will help you learn the warning signs of suicide and will teach you common causes of suicidal behavior and so much more.
This is a free training held each and every Wednesday of the month for 1 hour from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. For more information or to register, please visit eventbrite.com and search for SOAR, QPR Suicide Prevention Gatekeeper Training.
He woke me up this morning.